Good morning. Hope everyone is doing well this morning. Thank you all so much for coming to Real Talk, Men Talk. I am your host this morning. I am Melissa Tools, and I am the owner of Tools Therapeutic Services and MK Heart. And I am here this morning with two great individuals that are going to empower and equip us with, well, you, because, I'm just the female hosting here. But going to be equipping you with education, with knowledge, and with power that will bring you forward into a new you as we go into the rest of 2023 and into 2024. So thank you so much for your time. And this morning, we are going to start off with Mr. Peter O'Neill, who is here with us from Pennsylvania. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much for being here. And after Mr. O'Neill, we will have, I call him Coach, and you'll find out why in a few minutes. But we have Mr. Johny Bonilla. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing well.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you both again for being here. And this, again, is just a time to share with our audience now and in the future about how our men can be equipped to do their ultimate best, reaching that ultimate potential. But also, of course, for me as a therapist, my intentions and hope is that we work on the mental health side of things for not just our men, for all, but if we work with our men, we work with our families, and ultimately we have healthier relationships, which means healthier households, which means a healthier country and world. So with that, we are going to start with Mr. Peter. And I'm apologize in advance if you hear me say PJ, because I have known this person for many, many, many years. And so this is very special to me to have both of you here. Peter, just a short introduction about him. He is a husband and a dad of three, and he also incorporates as a person, a people person. He works as a leader. He's a host of Vision Mindset, a TV show that discusses business, self-help, and mental wellness. He is also the founder of Bitco Studios and a full-service production company owns a full-service production company in Owings Mills, Maryland. So, Mr. Peter, it's so weird to say that, but Peter, thank you again. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you so much for your opportunities that you've shared with us. Before we kind of get into the Q&A, can you tell us a little bit more about how you have come to this place or come to this point where you feel that mental health is important, not just for men, but for all individuals? I know we've had side conversations, but
Yes.
if you could share a little bit about why you think this topic is so important.
So it's interesting. I never really considered mental wellness, mental health, mental anything until I got in my 30s. So in my early 30s, I wound up getting a divorce, and it was a difficult time in my life, and there was no one really there for me.
Mhm.
I was just in the house with my dog, and I didn't know what resources there were. There was no one really to connect me with any resources. And I wound up drinking a lot. And so in that, I had to go find people on my own, which was even harder than I thought it would be, because you're dealing with depression, you're dealing with alcoholism, you're dealing with all these different things. And then now you have to go kind of start pulling yourself up high enough where you can shout for help to where someone can hear you. And I reached out to some clergy, to just people that I knew, some other solid guys, and just through counseling, through friendships, through hanging out in conversations and late night conversations with people I trusted on the phone. It was a journey. And in that, I realized that these discussions, like the one that we're having today, are so important, because a lot of guys, we feel like we can fix it on our own. We feel like we can solve it on our own. We feel like, okay, this is a hurdle, I can beat it. But in a lot of cases, you need help, or you at least need someone to kind of guide you through the darkness into the light, for lack of a better way to put it. And so I wanted to get that messaging out. I started on social, and it just got popular, and it turned into a television show, which I never would have imagined that would have ever happened. And so what I do, since I don't consider myself the mental wellness czar, but I like to be the person that helps to provide information, put others with stories like mine in front of people, because you never know who is out there who is like, hey, this resonates with me. Hey, I needed this information. They would have not known how to get it otherwise. And you can kind of start that ball rolling in their life, so that they can start moving forward through whatever it is that they were dealing with, male or female.
Awesome. So along those lines, of course, thank you, of course, for sharing that. And that is so crucial because, again, like you said, many people don't know where to go or what to do. And what I heard you say is that first you had to realize that there was something going on. So at what point did you realize that there was an issue and you needed to now venture out and seek that support?
It's the best analogy I can come up with. It's like when you are, let's say you're in a hot tub and it's nice and hot, and then it starts to cool off, but your body kind of adjusts to the temperature as it decreases. You don't realize it because it happens so slowly. It's the reverse. When you're going through things and you're experiencing depression, you don't necessarily know that it's starting to take root in your life. And it's not until you get around other people, especially like for men, we get around other guys, and you start to realize there's this huge disparity between how you feel and act and how you're moving through the world versus how they are. And you can kind of see it. It's like when you go from a cold environment to a really hot one, and you notice the difference. When you're by yourself, when you kind of pull back, you don't really notice it because it's just you and your thoughts. um I would love to be able to say, hey, it was me and I know myself and I realized I wasn't the way I normally am, but it wasn't like that. And I feel like I'm a pretty solid guy mentally, but it wasn't until I got around other people, especially guys that I looked up to, that I kind of noticed, okay, something's off. And that kind of started that realization in my mind, but I still wasn't ready to admit it to anyone else. It took maybe 2 or 3 months before I got to that point.
So what would you say were 2 or 3 of the biggest challenges that you faced in overcoming, or for men? What are 2 biggest challenges that men um, face and they need to overcome in order to get to that space where they can be vulnerable? Because that's really what it comes down to,
Yeah.
is being vulnerable and even admitting that you need, I don't say help, I say support.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
when you say I need help, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm weak, but what do you, from your experience and or being a male, you feel that men face, I would say 2, not 3, 2 biggest challenges that men face in that area?
I think one would be, one of the things that I hear a lot when I talk to other guys that is similar to how I grew up. And I have a dad. We have a really good relationship. And when I was a kid, you get hurt, you hear suck it up. You hear, figure it out. You hear work through it. And even today, like if I talk to him, I'm like, hey, I'm dealing with this. He's like, you just gotta figure it out. Like, guys, we're taught from a young age into adolescence into young adulthood that you gotta suck it up, you gotta work through it, you gotta, whatever it is, you gotta figure it out, you gotta problem solve, you just have to deal with it. And that's kind of how I operated for a long time. It wasn't until maybe within the past few years that I really started being willing to call other guys, especially like a mentor, and saying, hey, this is what I'm struggling with. Because in our minds, and a lot of times, depending on who is in our circle, the expectation is you got to figure it out. And then you don't feel comfortable or safe or able to express these things in your circle because of fear of ridicule. You don't want, anyone else thinking that you're less than. Men, we do a really good job of showing the outside world that we've got it together, that we've got it figured out. When in reality, we get home and we don't. And you get into this catch-22 of, okay, well, you realize you don't have it figured out, but you don't feel comfortable talking about it. You don't really feel like you can go to anyone in your circle, and it just repeats itself every day.
That is even more powerful. The community and who you have around you is vital, because you can have a community that either speaks life, or you can have a community that keeps you at your level, or you can have a community that you're just in the same boat and
Yeah.
you're all going down the same journey, but at some point someone has to be a Peter, no pun intended, and get out the boat, or make a change. And so it is so crucial, and I hope that the men that are listening are understanding and hearing that it is okay. That is, I think the biggest part is to know that it is okay to make the change, but it's also okay to acknowledge that there has to be a difference.
Yeah.
Like you said, growing up, and I know Coach is nodding because he's like, "Yep, I heard the same stuff. Suck it up, be tough, be a man." And it's hard because you've heard that so long. You're now prone and hardwired to just try to figure it out. Your toe could be falling off, and you're like, "Nope." You still
Yeah.
play through it. If you're an athlete, oh, my knee hurts. All right, put some ice on it and get back in there. And so there's a constant reminder that you can't be vulnerable. And I know that, of course, in my profession, that's a challenge that I hear a lot with my clients. And so, when did you really get to that point where you said, you know what, I can't continue to do this and I need to do something different? What was that point for you?
I would say that there were multiple points. It's been a journey. Uh, the first time was when I was in my house with the dog, and my brother just showed up. This was, maybe 9 years ago. My brother shows up and he's like, "Hey, why are all these bottles in your house?" And we got into it. And we don't, my brother and I, we were close. We don't fuss each other. We don't yell. We don't anything. But he was mad with me. And that was the first night that it like kind of clicked. Then I started getting around some other guys, and the realization kind of set in that something was wrong. But it wasn't, and it's, this part that I'm getting ready to kind of navigate into, it could be its own conversation, because a lot of times we go into new relationships bringing things from our past. So I wound up getting married again. Now I got kids, I got a family, and I find myself still wounded from my previous marriage and not feeling comfortable to bring things to my wife. So I'm dealing with things and I'm feeling like, okay, well, I'm dad, I'm husband. I really got to like figure it out. So I'm working, I get in my truck, I go do what I got to do. I come home and everybody goes to bed. I'm just staring out the window, trying to like find some way to get all this vortex that's in my head out so that the next day I can start all over again and be dad. And it wasn't until I was talking to my wife, and I say wife, but we weren't actually married yet. We were engaged. And I think she could kind of see it in my eyes. And she's like, there's nothing wrong with you. I'm kind of like jumping back and forth in time as I'm thinking about these memories. But she looked at me and she said, there's nothing wrong with you. Like you think you're broken and you're not broken, and you just have to figure some things out. But it wasn't until after, we got married and got in our home that I really started to figure out that I could trust her with my feelings, which we don't talk about our feelings. I don't know about Coach, but
Y'all don't.
feelings, no. For me, I wasn't that guy. I wasn't that guy, and so I felt safe, like, okay, I can come to you, and I'm like, hey, not in a way where, okay, now your wife has to be your therapist, now your wife has to fix you, not like that. Just having a safe space in the privacy of your home to be able to say, hey, yeah, I'm okay, but this is kind of what I'm dealing with. To kind of have a trench buddy with you, to
Yeah.
say like, okay, we're in the trench together, we're in the battle. As a man, I'm not by myself, and she has the space to be able to give me empathy. And I think sometimes guys feel like we have empathy, that people just kind of look at us and say, well, you're a man, you're supposed to be able to figure it out, you're supposed to know, you're supposed to be able to take the hits. And to a certain point, we can, if I got to go out here and do something for my family, you can't stop me. Like,
Right.
there's no force on heaven and earth that can keep me from taking care of my kids and my wife.
All right. Absolutely.
But at the end of the day, when you come out of the battle, you still have wounds. You still have scars, you still have, you got to put the tourniquet on, whatever it is, you have to deal with that. And so having a space, some guys might be married, some might not be married.
Yeah.
Having, if you're in church, having somebody that you trust, a pastor, a minister that you can relate to, that you can talk to, someone who's, that you trust, not only to give you the best, not just advice, but counseling, because there's a difference between counseling and just advice.
Yes.
And then also keeping what you say to them confidential. And so there's a lot to that. And I think the realization that, okay, I'm a man, talking about things doesn't make me less than a man. And even when I'm dealing with things, I can still talk to people who I trust and have these conversations to make sure that I'm moving forward in my own life.
Yeah. Wow. There was so much meat in all that what you said. We're gonna have to do like a part 10. Because it's just the vital piece of trust. And that goes for everyone, but especially with men. That is a vital nugget, that if you don't have trust, then you can't allow yourself to be in a position where you can share what's going on. And sometimes it's just, you don't even have the words, because there's so much that's been sitting there that you don't even know what to say or how to start. And so, which we'll even segue in a few minutes and, talk about how you can move forward with Coach in more of the fitness realm. But when it comes down to it, you truly have to first acknowledge that, one, there's something going on, and that, two, I can share this with at least one person. If you do have a spouse, we hope and pray that your spouse is one that you can be somewhat vulnerable, or should be vulnerable with. And if you don't have a spouse, having at least one person. And that is key, whether it is reaching out to a therapist, whether it is reaching out to someone in your community, but starting somewhere. Because without that, that's where all of the memories or the trauma or various situations will start to take place physically and manifest physically, because it's not coming out. And so I do appreciate you sharing, I know there's a lot more to it, but sharing those key nuggets. And so if you were sitting with, Peter back then, what would you say to him in order to, he's ready to make that first step. He's ready to make that first step to.
You're gonna make me emotional.
Only the ones
on a
that
call
register
with guys,
will
you're
see
gonna have me
this.
emotional. Like, okay.
Only the one. I mean, we might put it on Facebook later, but only the ones that are in the group. We have our community. We, I do want to keep this, and so that everyone knows it's watching. I do want to encourage you to join the community of Real Talk, which is on my Facebook page, and I'll repost it. But because this conversation is important, and this conversation is not just a one-time conversation, because it needs to be continuous. And so there are men that are out there that are in a position of just, what do I do? How do I move from this point? And so, having you and having Coach being able to to give those nuggets, but also to hear this is real. This
It's
isn't
real.
for show. This is, things that you've experienced and how you've gotten to where you are and still moving forward. So if you were talking to Peter back then, to PJ,
Mm-hmm.
what would you have said to him then that you know now?
I would tell him to cry. I'd say, you know what? Go ahead, buddy. Go ahead. Go ahead. Just let it out.
Mhm,
Because you feel like you're always just doing this.
mhm,
And you feel like that's the solution. Like I just gotta fight. I just gotta push my way through it. But you never take a moment to just sit and just be real with where you are. To say, I'm hurt. It hurts. I'm in the middle of the suck.
mhm,
And I need to take a moment and just deal with that. And I think that's how people wind up with hurt that they carry through their lives
mhm,
because they don't ever just sit and just cry. And for men, it takes a lot. If you see a guy crying, it's deep stuff going on.
mhm. Coach is like,
It's
yep.
deep stuff. And so like even when I was just in the house by myself with the dog, like I didn't even want him to see me crying. Like we we just in the house. And so I tell you the first time that I really just confronted where I was at work
Mhm,
and I went outside because I could feel like it just hit a breaking point. I went outside, got in my car, drove to the bottom of the parking garage. There was nobody there. Parked
mhm,
facing the last back wall of the garage, just complete concrete. Nobody can hear me.
mhm,
And I'm bawling,
mhm.
bawling,
Yeah,
bawling, bawling, bawling. But it should not have taken that long.
yeah.
The crying was just because I was holding it in and just trying to fight through it because, you know, and maybe some guys are like, well, I'm not like this. And that, that's cool if you're not. But for me,
Mhm,
it was ego. I'm like, I can
mhm,
fight and beat this,
mhm.
I'm thinking I'm not a weak person,
Yeah,
but you're still human. You're still
yeah.
human. You're still a person. You still have emotions. You still have feelings. You can still be hurt emotionally
Mhm,
and mentally. And so when you ignore that side of your life, I'm looking forward to what Coach is saying because I know nothing about physical fitness. I just every time I look in the mirror, I'm getting bigger and bigger. But what what I have learned is that you can definitely be unfit
mhm,
mentally and it only
mhm,
gets worse. It's like somebody that's just, drinking sugary drinks all the time. And you
mhm,
eventually go to the doctor and you get your blood work done and
mhm.
doctor's like, you're pre-diabetic. And it's just
Yeah.
because you've been drinking, 2 gallons of Sprite every day. It's
Mhm,
like that mentally, you're dealing with this thing and you just keep bombarding your mental state with
mhm,
it's not just the external stuff, but it's the internal stuff that we inflict on ourselves. Like, you idiot, you let her go. You idiot, she
mhm,
left you. You dummy,
mhm,
why are you
mhm,
drinking again? And
mhm,
you do that to yourself.
mhm,
And instead of really just kind of being honest with yourself, confronting it,
mhm,
and then going and finding a resource or finding a buddy or finding somebody that can help you navigate out of that,
mhm.
that takes courage. It takes courage because you have to confront that you're not okay. And sometimes we can be the biggest demon in our own lives. And I
Mm,
think I think myself, even when I met my wife,
mhm.
when I met her, I was still my biggest enemy. There
Wow.
was no enemy on this earth, no boogeyman bigger than me for myself.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah.
And sometimes it just takes a lot to be honest about that, to know you have to get it, and it's even bigger than getting out of your own way. Sometimes you're in your own way and handcuffing yourself at the same time.
Mm,
And that's
wow.
where I was. And it
Yeah.
took a while. It took a while to get out of that.
Yeah. Wow. I'm telling you, you about to make this a full series here.
But to be fair, I've had a lot of practice talking to people on camera. So
Well, that's good. That's good. But I mean, again, it's just so vital, and I do truly appreciate you, speaking on this, because that's another area where men, I mean, some as girls, we talk all the time. sometimes we tell too much. Hold up, coach. We talk all the time and we're, oh girl, let me tell you what this happened. And oh, I feel like this, or, the kids are acting up. I'm ready to run away. Like, we share naturally, most of us, not all, but most of us. But men are not taught to even talk.
Mm-mm.
You're not taught to have a conversation for the most part. Yes, be respectful. Yes, sir. No, sir. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. And then do what you're told. That's it. And so, how do you go from that to then being able to say, you know what, this is how I feel? These are the emotions that I'm experiencing. That's not natural.
Yeah.
As girls, you're taught that, but for, like you said, as a boy growing up, is suck it up, deal with it, figure it out. And so that continues throughout your life, and now you're just expected, as and this is something that also I had to learn in my previous marriage. Of I'm expecting him to share and talk to me, tell me what's going on. I see something's wrong, talk to me. And he couldn't or didn't, and then I would get frustrated and get mad and upset. Like, I know something's wrong with you. Talk to me, you know. And it honestly took being in my program to learn even the more and have the realization that for men, you're not taught to talk. You're taught to
Yep.
be there. And unfortunately, he was also military. So, a shut up in color, kind of thing. You don't even
Yeah.
have an opinion. So that's a whole different mindset to work through. And so sometimes, even as trying to be a support or maybe trying to be a friend, females, we don't always understand that men are not going to talk. They
So I'll
show.
say this too.
Yeah.
On that note, one thing that I do with my two boys,
Mm-hmm.
and my daughter, she's 5. She's not at this point yet, and I really try to make sure that I teach them all the same things, because sometimes we have a tendency to teach boys one thing and girls another thing, but some things should be universal. But with my boys, especially now that they're older, I'm like, hey, it's okay to talk.
Yeah.
If you're with something, we can jump in the truck. We can go up here to the park. We can just ride around in circles, and we can just have a conversation. And I tell him, especially my oldest son, because he's very introverted. I told him this week, just reminding him that it's okay if you're mad, sad, frustrated. These are all normal feelings, especially when you're a teenager. You're trying to navigate things, but it's important to be able to have somebody that you can have a conversation with. And I told him, that might not be me. You might feel more comfortable talking to your grandfather. And I said to him, that's okay. My feelings are not going to be hurt. I just want to make sure that you feel comfortable talking to somebody who you can trust if you ever feel like you need to talk to somebody. And as much as I love my father and think the world of him and all the above, he didn't have a father. And so of course he was raised by neighborhood guys who were, they were nice, good guys, but he was taught suck it up. So that's what he passed on. Now that I know that that's not necessarily the best solution, I have a duty to educate my sons on how to deal with things that they might encounter that affect their mental wellness, because they have to have more emotional dexterity than I had, because when the hits come, they need to be able to know how to navigate that.
Absolutely. So, wow. Well, sir, I appreciate you. I really, really do. I do appreciate your willingness to share just, the snippet. That's really the what do they call the cliff notes of your story and your journey. And it truly is a journey. That's what I share with my clients, that, anything dealing with changes, and, as we get ready to bring my coach up, because I'm in the middle of it, or starting a challenge. It feels like the middle, but it's going to be a journey. But anything that we do is different, and it's going to bring on challenges, and it's going to bring that uncomfortable discomfort, but it's not just something that you can do one day and then you're going to see the results. So the same with mental health and mental wellness, it is a journey and it does adjust. And in time, you see the results, but then you're able to now, like you are doing, share with others how they can move forward and how they can get from where they are from point A to point B. And so as we're getting ready to transition, and again, I thank you so much, but Peter, for anyone that wants to reach out or speak in, or even just get more of your content, where can they find you? What channels, what platforms, where are you located, or what do you prefer? How do you prefer for them to reach out to you?
Probably the best, easiest way that most people have and use is Facebook.
Okay.
Facebook.com/Pete O'Neill Jr. I've got video content on there, posts, and that's usually where I post, and I'm the most active.
Okay.
I have a website, but we're moving hosting.
Okay.
So I'm not gonna share that today.
Okay.
There's evergreen in the future. Anybody watches the replay. But yeah, Facebook.com/Pete O'Neill Jr. And then you can message me on there.
Okay.
If you want to reach out to me and contact me or ask me a question, or if you just need to vent, because that happens. I'm here.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you. Again, give it up. I'm gonna give some snaps. Woo. I know it's not poetry, but that's what we're gonna do because we're virtual. So with that, we are going to transition to, again, I keep calling him Coach, and y'all will find out why very, very soon. But this is Mr. Johny Bonilla. Hopefully I'm saying that last name correct. Yay, I got it. But Johny is a dedicated instructor whose passion is to help others reach their desired goals. He enjoys every moment of what he does and would not change it for anything. He is a husband and a father of 4. He started as a student of psychology, showing his interest in the mind of others. Though Johny took another career path for a few years, his passion continued to bring him back to his roots. While in another career, he was involved in coaching organized sports and was a youth sports coach in New York. Once he moved to Florida, he decided to follow his heart and start building on his true desire of helping others. He decided to go back to school for sports medicine and became a certified trainer. He strongly believes in the philosophy of taking care of yourself physically, mentally, and spiritually. Therefore, deciding to guide and encourage others to get to that state of mind. So now Johny is the owner of Jabo Fitness. Hey. Yes, 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 yes. That has had their doors open to the community for over 11 years. In his sessions, you can expect to be challenged. Like I said, I'm in one now. Johny makes sure that he gives everyone the individual attention that they need to get the full benefit of their workout. And like I said, and as you see on my post, I am there at 5 in the morning. That itself is a challenge. I like my sleep, the little I could get. But thank you, Coach, so much for being with us this morning. How are you?
Doing well. I'm doing well. Thank you for having me here. And I have to say that, Pete, that was powerful stuff. There was so much that I wanted to jump in with you and like engage, because there's a lot of true talk that you were saying there. So there's so much. I'm like wanting to deviate from my notes, because I'm like, man, I want to stay on some of the topics he said, because I grew up in the city, in the Bronx. And, that was one of my first lessons, like, you got to be tough, man, because vulnerability led to weakness. And if you were weak in the inner cities, you got eaten up, and you never wanted to be that person that was always on the bottom. You were striving to be the person on the top. And I just remember my dad taking me and just throwing me into my first fight. And it's like, you got to buckle up. Let's go. And I'm grateful for it, because it gave me survival. But at the same token, I look at my life as a child and I look at myself now, and it's like I was angered. And now I'm more at peace. and I'm able to be vulnerable, especially with my wife. And, even times, because crying is like, what's wrong with me? You're not supposed to do this.
Mhm.
You feel weak. And it's true. Like, even you don't want to cry, even in front of the dog, like you said, like you don't want to cry, period.
Period.
Because it's just a sense of weakness that comes over you. And it's sad because in all reality, when you do cry, there is a sense of relief, sense of peace that comes with that. So there is healing in it, but we just see it as, no, that's weakness. So I just wanted that was good points.
Yes, yes.
So
That's what I'm talking about. I am
thank you for sharing that, man.
yeah. So,
All right.
Coach, I know, of course, I've been anticipating and sharing the importance of the physical side of things, but not just physical, but how your health also affects you in other areas. And so, I want you to share. I know you have your presentation, but even whatever comes to your heart about how, as men, the importance of taking care of yourself so that you can have longevity and be more productive in other areas of your life.
Absolutely. And we don't, I mean, I have the notes and we can dip into that. I don't mind. I have my statistics and all. But when it comes to health, right? There's a big correlation between health and wellness. And one of the things is when you start taking your health into consideration, there are certain transformations that take place. And one of those, think about it as men, there's that strength component that you start to build that tenacity, that bone density, right? You start to build that strength, and it builds something within you, and it builds this self-esteem that can bring you to the next level. And I think that when you start working on your health, you start your mental, because one of the statistics is that regular exercise is associated with 22% lower risk of developing depression. So if you start getting into the health component, you're likely to lessen the fact of going into depression. And I think it's solely because now you're taking care of you and you have an outlet. And I don't think many times we have an outlet. If you don't have the outlet of speaking, then you can always utilize the outlet of exercising. Going for a run, getting that mental space, lifting some weights, getting that aggression and that stress out. And I think that's a huge benefit. And many times there are plenty of men who are not doing that. We're not taking care of our bodies. We're not having that moment of releasing. When we were younger, we probably had sports. We had our basketball, football, we had our, whatever, wrestling and things like that. And then as we get older, life comes to us. We're now husbands, we're now, fathers. Now our priorities are our wife, our kids, and then we lose sight of who we are and what, things that we could be doing for ourselves.
That's another nugget right there. See, y'all are gonna make me which is so true. When you get to the going into, I guess, young adulthood, or even as an adult, that is an area that you lose sight of who you are and what you need, because now you have responsibilities. And not that you should negate your responsibilities, but now it's okay, what is my next step? What's going to make me get to that promotion? What's going to get me to that name, that title? And working with some of my clients currently and in the past, for the men, it's, who am I, the title, not who am I, the person. And so that too is so important, to understand that who am I, the person, needs things like my health to be in good standing, in order for me to then be the husband, to be the CEO, to be the whatever. If that's not there, then what can you do? It's like putting on your mask. They tell you to put your mask on first if you're flying, before you help anyone else. And so this is one of the areas that, even for me, like I shared with you, I need to do this for me, because I can't do anything else for my family if I'm not okay.
Correct.
And so fitness, wellness, health all ties in to one. And so, Coach, another question that I do have for you is, how do you help, or what do you feel is the challenge that men have in getting into good health and fitness? I know PJ said, hey, I need some help in that area too. But what do you think are some of the challenges or barriers for that, for men to get into that space where they can now move forward in working on their health?
I think I have that actually in my presentation. There's common barriers that most people will say, and I'll go over some of them, right?
Mhm.
The number one is the lack of time.
Mm-hmm.
So plenty of us say that we have the lack of time, right? We treat exercise as a non-negotiable.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Like we treat exercise like it's negotiable. Like, okay,
Negotiable, yeah.
maybe this time, maybe that time, maybe we'll do it there, right? But I think
Mhm.
the key thing is to treat exercise as a non-negotiable
Mhm.
appointment in your schedule. You know, if you learn to create a certain space for you, so you create like a time, like you're doing right now.
Mhm.
5 a.m. is when I'm going to wake up and I'm going to do the exercise. It's a sacrifice,
Yeah.
but there's so much benefits to it. And you know, like there's 12, I had 12 benefits listed, and I'll go over that, but there's 12 benefits that I listed
Mhm.
that are crucial to your health,
Mhm.
right? So when you start to think about the sacrifice and all those benefits that you're going to gain from it, it can change a bit, but you have to first prioritize it. And I think that's what a lot of, men in general are just saying, I don't have the time. I'm busy. I have this. I have my children. I have my wife. I have my job. I have my responsibilities. I don't have the time. But if you can put a certain time frame that you're going to go and do your workout, it makes a world of a difference. Because if you do it sporadically, you're less likely to stick to it. And it's like anything, right? You wake up almost the same time every day. You brush your teeth at the same time. You eat the same time. And you stick to those routines because they're of habit. So
Right.
how do you do that? You have to create you have to be non-negotiable now with your workouts, create a certain time, and you have to turn your phones off. You have to just designate that time, and that's it. This is for you, and there's no turning back on that. And then, learn how to get shorter, intense workouts.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we think, hey, I got to be there for an hour or 2 hours. I think men are famous for that. You go to any of these big box gyms, have a lot of guys sitting there for about an hour, 2 hours, just on their phone and doing sets and reps. And if you get it done, get a shorter, intense workout, 30 minutes, 40 minutes. It makes it, the results are different. And then it just gives you less time constraints.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
like things to help out. Like I said, consider high intensity training, shorter, more efficient workouts that can deliver significant benefits. Incorporate activity. Look for opportunities to be active throughout the day. Go bike riding with your kids. Go on a walk with them. That also gives you an opportunity to have conversations with them, to talk with them, to see how school is, see how the days are going, and at the same time, you're engaged in your health. You're walking, you're building bone density. Your heart rate may escalate a little bit, which is good because you want vascular, you want that heart muscle being built. So those are things that you can do to get away from the lack of time. Yep.
Yeah.
Lack of motivation. A lot of people say they're not motivated. Now, I have my own thing with motivation. I think motivation is a term that we use loosely. No one's motivated to do anything. I mean, if it was up to us and up to men, we can sit down and watch TV all day. Why not? Yeah, you see? So I don't like motivation. I like more of the discipline. We have to discipline ourselves. We have to set goals.
Yeah.
And these goals have to mean something. Too many times the goal of vanity doesn't last long. So it's like, oh, I want to look good. I want the muscles. I want the abs. That's temporary, man. As you get older as men, we're gonna have wrinkled skin. We're gonna, things are gonna change. So we got to set goals of being healthy. We got to set the goals of being able to, have something that's dear to your heart, right? If you have kids, you want to be there for your kids.
Yeah.
If you have a spouse, you want to be there for your spouse. If you don't have a spouse, you want to just be there for the community. You want to be there for people. Because our whole objective is to be there for others, right? We're put on this world to be disciples. We're there to help others because there's a lot of people in need. But you can't go forward with that if you don't have your health. So you want to have your health. So you want to set goals. These goals have to mean something to you because they'll drive you to get up every day. Because if it's about abs and you get up and you're gonna hit the snooze button. I'll get abs tomorrow.
Yep.
But if it's about but if it's about transforming somebody's life, or it's about, hey, I want to be able to, if you have your kids in sports, or you have teenagers and you want to be out there with your teenagers, that's going to drive you up, man. I want to go out there and play ball with my son, or softball with my daughter, or I want to take that walk with my daughter, or be there for her in jiu-jitsu, or him in jiu-jitsu. These are things that are going to drive you up. Or I want to get up and be with my spouse and go out for that walk or that bike ride, something that's going to drive you to get up and see that the sacrifice is worth it. So goals are very important.
Yeah.
That's the second one, lack of time, lack of motivation.
Motivation. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big one. The fear of injury, I think, keeps a lot of, discomfort. Man, I'm going to get hurt. Something bad is going to happen to me. And, that keeps them out, right? And one of the reasons there could be injury, right, or discomfort is that, seek counsel, seek a professional, seek someone that can teach you how to do the correct form. Get into a group fitness center, do group training where there is a trainer that can show you the proper form, teach you how to do the exercises correctly. And then that can help, eliminate some of the risk of injury. All right. Also want to, make sure that you're cooling down and warming up your body. As men, we get older, maybe there's some young audience, they can move a little bit different, they can get up and go. But as you get older, your body, when you start exercise, you don't want a cold rubber band. If you pull a cold rubber band, it snaps. So you want your body to be warm. So, you do certain techniques, go on the treadmill, do certain things to warm up your body so that there is no injury. You don't want to just go into a routine and start working out. So I think that's another thing that keeps a man away. Oh, I'm going to go into the gym, I'm going to get hurt, something's going to happen, and then I'm going to be out. So that also discourages them from going in. And I just want to, really like inspire them to seek somebody, get a personal trainer temporarily, or join a group, get into a group where they can teach you these things. All right. One other thing is lack of social support, I think. And, like Pete talked about support, I thought that was a real good thing that you guys said, like, don't seek help, seek support. And I think that's a really good thing, because if you have the support, then you have people that are going to work with you, and it's going to encourage you to continue. So that's why I say, get with someone else, get with a friend, get somebody to join in with you, that you guys can work out together. And it gives you, you have somebody to talk to. I think that's so crucial, right?
Yeah.
Even in the church, like I know I have my wife to speak to, but when I join men's groups in the church, it's so different. It's like, oh man, I get to be, say things that I don't mind telling my wife, but it's going to resonate different if I tell it to another church. And I think it's the same thing with fitness. If you're in a group with a bunch of the guys, like even in our gym, I pair the woman, I pair the woman with the men, and I give the men the opportunity to go heavy and to really get in. And then little do you know, they're engaging in conversation, and now they have an accountability partner, and now they feel like, hey, listen, so-and-so is waiting on me. I got to get to the gym. And that inspires you to get there. And there's no judgment, because now you guys are working at it together, and there's that support that you really want.
Yeah. That's
and
awesome.
Then, I got one more.
Oh no, keep going.
The lack of energy or stress is another barrier, right?
Ooh,
I have no energy. I'm too tired. This is more work. And little do you know, or maybe you do know, that exercise is going to give you that energy that you're lacking. So a lot of people say I lack the energy, but guess what? If you work out, the energy will come.
Yeah.
And I know that from experience, because sometimes I'm sitting in my desk and I'm doing my job, my work, and I'm tired. I wake up 3:00 in the morning. I have to go in and train. And then I notice I'll be like, you know what? Shut up, get out your head. Let's get it. And then once I finish work area, like the lack of energy, but I want to encourage you that you start working out, you're going to feel better. And it's also good for stress. Absolutely. Stress management. That's, from working out, release that stress. Those are 5 reasons why most physical work. Yep. Hello?
There we go. Okay. Can you hear me?
Oh, there we go.
Okay. And I don't know what's going on outside, but yes, I heard you. And that was perfect because it's so needed. So, okay, I think we're back. So how would you encourage someone to move forward?
You're going in and out.
Uh-oh. Can you hear me?
Hello? Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Are
How
we
could
there?
you? I think we're here. We're back.
All right.
There we go.
Is it on me or is
I
it
think
just
I,
she's
I think
having
Melissa's
issues
going
right
in
now?
and out.
Yes.
I know she will.
Okay. Yep. I think.
Okay. So
Hold on.
yes, how can someone move forward?
At least when she froze, she was smiling.
Yeah. She has a good face on right now.
Yeah, I mean, one of the points that you mentioned for me was motivation, and I have a video where I talk about no one can like motivate you. Okay, here we go. She's back.
Are you back?
Yeah. Okay, she's back. Yeah, I was saying, the motivation. I have a video around, but no, you need to. We were standing. I was like, yeah, I would know. You like, yeah.
Yeah, I tell because I get that sometimes even with my clients where they're like, I'm not motivated. I'm like, stop.
Yeah,
It's not about motivation, it's about discipline. You got to be
yeah,
able to, set yourself up, discipline yourself, set those goals so that it'll keep you going. And you got to consistently set the goals because you
hmm
eventually accomplish them, and then you're gonna need something new, and then another thing. So it
My
keeps you going.
grandfather on my mom's side was disciplined like that. I mean, he had a routine. He would get up, he'd be in the yard, and he was in his 80s, like cutting grass. He would cut their grass. They had 2 acres. They lived in the country. Then he would go to the neighbor's house and cut their grass. He was a machine, but it was just because he stayed active his whole life. He was active.
Yep.
And yeah, he didn't have abs. He was in his 80s, like you said, wrinkles, like that comes. But he was so active in his life. Uh, he just did things. He had a whole tool shed. He was always out there working. I'm thinking, man, you got
Oh,
more energy than I do.
yeah, 100%. And that's like my mother-in-law. She's that way. She's in her late 70s right now. And man, what keeps her going is that she's out and about all the time. She's doing yard work outside the house. She's goes out, to the stores, walks around. You never catch her sitting out.
Yeah.
She's volunteering in the church. She's going to someone's house, that person's house, cleaning, doing that, and still moves really well for the age that that she's because most people associate 70s and 80s as someone moving really slow, but she moves
Yeah.
quick. She's strong.
Have you seen that lady, Annette Larkins? She eats clean, and she's been eating clean since she was in her. She only started when she was in her 50s. And she's
Okay.
80 now, and she looks like she's 15 years younger than her age. She
Yeah, I
eats,
got it.
she works out.
I'm
So
probably got to see who that is, but I'll tell you, man, this the
yeah,
fountain is in
yeah,
exercise.
fountain of youth. That's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Glad y'all are professionals. Keep the party going.
Welcome back.
Thank you. I heard it. It was, I don't know. It says my internet was unstable. And I'm like, okay, devil is a liar, but that's all right.
That's right.
But that was great because that's the whole point is I want men to talk and have real conversations. And so you guys hit the nail on the head in many, many areas. So, Coach, I know you were starting to talk about the benefits and I may have missed a few, but if there's any others that you wanted to share Or again, if you were sitting across from someone in their, den, and they just didn't know what to do, where to go, how to get started, what would you share with them?
I think the first step is, tap into your why.
Mhm.
Why do you want to do this? What is it that's keeping, like, what are you feeling that's sparking that interest in wanting to be healthy or get into a fitness routine? Figure that out first. Why do you want to do it? And then once you figure out that why, then seek a professional. Either there's several ways you can do it. You can start by just taking walks around your neighborhood. That could be your first introduction. Just creating a routine where you're saying, hey, listen, every day at this time, I'm going to go out for a walk. And you can start with something as small as a half a mile. Track it. Tracking is so crucial. So I'm going to start with a half a mile. Once that becomes easy, let me step it up to a mile.
Mhm.
Once that becomes easy, maybe 2 miles. And if walking is all you can do at the moment, then by all means, keep it that way. And then just
Mhm.
work your goals with just the walking increments. If there's more you want from walking, then you go to a gym and then seek a physical, a personal trainer. And then from there, if, they help you out with that, then you can go into a group training, do something like what we offer, where you can get involved with a group where you have several people that are working out with you, where there's a community to help you and hold you accountable and give you support.
Yep.
But you first figure out your whys, set your goals. Where do you want to be in the next couple months? Do you want to just continue walking, set the increments for walking? Do you want to be lifting weights? Do you want to
Yeah.
work on your mobility, your flexibility? Because your cardiovascular, are you diabetic? Do you want to get off diabetic medication? Do you want, hypertension? No, there's so many avenues that you could be lacking. You could be lacking respiratory health. You can be
Mhm.
lacking digestive health, metabolic health, bone health. Maybe you need to get stronger bones, energy levels. So that's my encouragement. Just start small, set your why, set
Mhm.
your goals, start tackling your goals, and then from there just increase. If it goes from walking to the gym, from the gym to a community, and I think that would set them up for success.
Awesome, awesome. And again, just speaking from the experience, like you mentioned, is first, what is that why is really what drives you. I know that's what's driving me to get up in the morning and to be there. And the fact that if you're late, you run laps, don't be late. But there has to be something bigger, to get you to that place and to get you to that goal, but also to set the goal, because if not, you're just flapping in the breeze and there's nothing to hold you accountable, there's nothing to tie you to it. We go to work because some of us enjoy it and some of us need it.
Yeah.
Two different things, but you still may go, but one may go with more enthusiasm and knowing that I'm here for this reason and for this purpose. And even like you mentioned, what is that, maybe your health goal? When is the last time, I would encourage, for you to look at your health, get that blood work, get to that physician so that you know where you are, because then you can say, okay, I can't tackle all of this, but I can tackle maybe this area. I can work on this particular location. And especially with men, a lot of the physical situations that you're dealing with, you don't even know that you're dealing with because you haven't been to a doctor, or you haven't gotten the opportunity or taken the time to go and get checked out, because of the fear factor that both of you touched on, and you're afraid of what ifs. But
Mm-hmm.
I would pose that, what if, especially if you are a father or you have a family that's depending on you, what if you don't take that time to take just a few minutes to find out if you're in a good place or if there's some work to do? Because then the what ifs can be bigger and unfortunately more detrimental. And now your family is saying, what if he did go to the doctor before? What if they caught this ahead of time? What if is now stuck with them for the rest of their lives? And unfortunately, you may or may not be there to see them, doing the great things that your children aspire to do. Not to be a downer, but it's also reality.
It's a reality. And I find it's interesting, right? As men, we consider ourselves the provider, right?
Mhm.
So we make sure that we get up every day, we go to work. And it's crazy because you know that you're not really motivated for the most part. It's because you know the consequences. If I don't get up and if I don't go to work, then I can't provide my family with the things that I can provide them with. And your fitness should be the same thing. If I don't get up and go exercise, then then I am going to face those things you were talking about, where there's going to be a time where you maybe have to sit with that doctor and that news that you didn't want to receive is there because it creeps up on you slowly. And if you ignore it and you don't go to the doctor to get that blood work to see where you are because you're being stubborn, you're also putting your family in jeopardy. I look like that because there's no instant effect. Whereas there's an instant effect if you don't get up and go to work, your paycheck gonna look different instantly.
Yeah.
But with your health, you don't get up and go to the gym, you don't see that instantly. It creeps up on you slowly. So as men, I want the same kind of enthusiasm and drive that we use to get up to provide for our family. I want to encourage them to also take that same drive for your wellness and your health. Because you know, not only your wellness, your health, but your mental health as well. I believe it'll make you a better spouse, a better father, a better individual for your community. But you gotta see it the same way. You gotta put it on the same level of priority.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Wow. Well, you both have given so much great information. I am so thankful for this time this morning. And, Coach, where can participants and those that will view this later, where can they find you and information if they're wanting to get more information, or even if they're here in Florida and want to join in on the group fitness? How can they get more information?
All right, so I actually had that on my slide. I got to write it down now. Well, for easy, jbofitness.com is our website. We do operate out of Davenport, Florida. So we do have a gym over that way. And then we have an Instagram account, which is jbofitness.com. So, oh, wait, hold on a second. At jbofitness.com.
Okay.
No, not .com. At jbofitness.
At jbofitness.
You gotta get it right. She's got to get it right. Yeah, at jbofitness. Okay, and that's our Instagram account. You can follow us there, and then yeah, that's a good way of
connecting.
Yes, connecting.
Awesome. And again, if you're not in the Davenport area, but you would like to get more information, again, I can speak personally. Coach is definitely one that wants to help you get to wherever it is that you're trying to go. So even if you're not here, I'm sure he'll be able to give you some insight or give you some suggestions on what to look for and who to connect with. But if you are in the area, come on down. 5 a.m. is interesting.
Yeah, and just so you, I am a part of a group of other gym owners that are across the board. I have no gym owners in Jersey. I have no gym owners in Oklahoma, in California. So you never know. I could always lead somebody to a certain gym close by to them. It's a small world.
But it's that too. I'm here in Florida and I've met 2 people from Delaware. I'm like, how? Where? Nobody lives in Delaware except me.
Yeah. And can I add one thing that I wanted to end with? There's a saying that they say, what you hunger for, you feed on. So I want to encourage, like, make your wellness, your health, your wellness, your mental health, your physical health, something that you hunger for. And if you hunger for it, you're going to feed on it. And once you start feeding on it, it's going to become a part of your life. And, Paul speaks about in Corinthians that we run a race. Many men have been competitive in our life, and we compete for things that are just like temporary. Yeah. And they don't last long. And I want you to compete for something bigger. Compete, to be the best male version that you can be. And, really go out to your community, really start, inspiring other men to, to step up. Because I think it's important that we don't, Paul reference, it's kind of like don't have sloppy living. And we have to live strong. And I think that by getting into a wellness, program and really taking your health, is going to encourage you and build you And I think that that's the real goal, is to really inspire others and lead them obviously to Christ, and have
Yeah.
them in their community doing big things. We need that more.
Absolutely. And I'm so, again, just so thankful for individuals that have been even in my life throughout the years, to be a reminder of that, very thing, is that yes, we are here to run our race, but we're also here to help people along that race, and get them potentially on the journey of being healthy and being in good wealth, not necessarily the finances, because everybody here, wealth, they think money. But if you're not wealthy in your health and in your mental health, then you are depleted in so many other areas. And so, again, my goal is to encourage, to inspire. My personal mantra is to live to ignite, not entertain, because we have enough entertainers as it is. But how many of us are actually helping others and igniting that passion, or igniting something different in individuals, so that their lives can be, transformed and renewed, and therefore their families can also be ignited to do whatever it is that they've been called to do, or they've been born with that purpose to fulfill. So I am truly, truly honored and grateful for you guys this morning. Again, I cannot tell you enough how much I am so, 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 so thankful. We are going to continue the conversation at some point. Let's look out for that coming soon. I also have the two other speakers that, again, were not able to make it today, but we are going to schedule that time. And again, we are looking forward to making this live. So keep your eyes posted, keep tuned. We are going to be taking this to the next level, and I am thankful again for your time. So from myself and my guest this morning, I hope you have an amazing day, a wonderful day, and live life on purpose. Stay blessed.